Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. We are from Group 2 will present about Zakat in Economic Development. This is my group members. First, Muhammad Hanif bin Zainudin. Second, Muhammad Rafiq Syukri bin Rambli. Third, Raja Puteri Natasha Binti Raja Nur Azlan. And me, Aida binti Hamzah. And last, Muhammad Ikhwan Azizi bin Hazle.
Islamic law emphasizes positive effort in improving the standard of human life through the development of understanding in economic and social activities. Zakat is an Islamic obligation to give a portion of one's surplus property to a certain recipient each year. According to Islamic principles, Muslims must pay 2.5% of the wealth imposed by zakat to a designated chief recipient and resources annually. Zakat is a viable solution to improve living standards and stimulate spending as an alternative to the problem.
Zakat is divided into two types, namely zakat fitrah and zakat harta. Zakat fitrah is obligatory on every Muslim individual to purify them from abominable works, and this in the months of Ramadan. While property zakat is zakat imposed on certain properties and can be paid at any time. Thus, zakat has a hook influence in various aspects of human life. Among them is the impact of the economy. Another effect of zakat is the equitability sharing of revenue among the Muslim community. The management of zakat in a professional and productive society can contribute to a weak economy and help the government in the economic development of the country, that is the economy of the ummah, in accordance with its wishes. Zakat is obligatory and has strong ethical laws, as it engender a sense of individual responsibility and their awareness of their duty to the society in which they are located. Next, it trains them to get rid of selfishness, corruption, or economic crime. In addition, zakat enables the Muslim community to prevent from obvious economic oppression in the absence of a fair and rational system of sharing financial resources. Moreover, zakat is a key instrument in preventing excessive accumulation of wealth and helping the poor and the weakest members of society. Although the Islamic economy model imposes a deduction of zakat from people with sufficient financial means, it also indicates the most appropriate way to withdraw it.
So next, we will continue on analysis of information and data. I will be present about descriptive statistics on dependent variable Y. In the statement, zakat can play the best Islamic financial management role in economic development. As can be seen on the figure, there is a figure of the respondent in Likert scale who is agree and disagree regarding the statement above, and the table of descriptive analysis. So, based on the table above, show the descriptive analysis for the zakat in economic development. As we can see from this table, the mean of the survey zakat in economic development is 16, while the median is 3. There's no mod on this descriptive analysis, since there's no seems number of respondents that respond on the Likert scale. Furthermore, the standard deviation of this statement is 24.3824, since the sample variance is 594.5. The kurtosis of the zakat in economic development was slightly positive, 2.55954, which is leptocritic, and the mean is greater than the median, which indicates that this figure is skewed to the right, positive skewness, which is 1.68434. Thank you.
Okay, next is inferential analysis. This is the follow-up on descriptive statistics. This is about statistical concept related to the presentation and interpretation of the result. If in this inferential analysis is contained the inappropriate use of statistic and errors in the presentation of statistical result. One of the first things to consider is having an adequate sample size and a representative sample to confidently generalize the result of the study. This requires that the desired objective and outcome are clearly identified before the start of the study. The degree of accuracy, margin of error, which is acceptable, as well as the confidence level, p-value, and the desired power for the study must be specified to determine the required sample size. In this inferential analysis, it must have hypothesis testing, confidence intervals, and multiple regression. Here is our summary output of our survey about Zakat. In this regression statistics, it has multiple R, R-square, adjusted R-square, standard error, and observation, which is the sample size. So we have about 80 respondents for our survey. Next, we have Anova, that stands for analysis on variance. It must have DF, stands for degree of freedom. SS stands for the mean of the sum of squares. MS stands for mean squares. F that stands for any statistical test in which the test statistic has an F distribution under the null hypothesis and the significance of F. After we identify the regression statistic and ANOVA, we must have the coefficient, standard error, t-stat, and p-value of the dependent and the independent. This intercept is dependent and the other three are independent. So we move to multiple regression output. This must be done to examine the linear relationship between one independent, which is y, and two or more independent variables, which is xi. As you can see on the top right of this slide, there is an equation to apply the idea. After being applied, we get 2.805519321 for this. We can have the value to apply this equation from the multiple regression output, just adding all of them and get the result. Next, are individual variables significant? So here we will unravel the probability of individual variables being significant. We see on the table again with t-stat and p-value. For hypothesis 0, it is beta j equal to 0 when there is no linear relationship between x, I, and y. And in hypothesis 1, it is beta j not equal to 0 when the linear relationship does exist between x, I, and y. Then we must find for degree of freedom and the given alpha and t alpha over 2. From the multiple regression output, t-stat and p-value of the dependent and the independent can be earned from that. For independent 1, the t-stat is 5.692 and the p-value is 0.0000002235, and so on. The test statistic for each variable falls in the rejection region. The p-values must be below 0.05. The decision is reject hypothesis 0 for each variable because it is not equal to 0. What can be concluded? There is evident that every independent effect by Zakat can play the best Islamic financial management role in Islamic development at alpha 0.05. Next, multiple coefficient of determination. We can refer to regression statistics and ANOVA. We must know about R-square. R-square can be obtained by dividing sum of the square of regression and sum of the square of total. The interpretation for this is 45.7% of the variation in pi Zakat can play the best Islamic financial management role in economic development is explained by variation in the independent. And then the adjusted R-square can be obtained in the regression statistics. 43.6% of the variation in pi Zakat can play the best Islamic financial management role in economic development is explained by variation in independent. considering the sample size and number of independent variables. After that, we must find F test for overall significance. The significance of F can be obtained by dividing mean square of regression and mean square of total. Hypothesis 0 is beta 1 equals to beta 2 equals 0, and hypothesis 1 is beta 1 and beta 2 are both not 0. And alpha is still 0.05 but differs for degree of freedom. It must have two, which are df1 and df2 as the critical values. As we can see at the graph, F statistic is in the rejection region. So reject hypothesis 0. For the conclusion, there is evidence that at last one independent variable affects Y.
Discussions of results, analysis of information and data. This study was conducted through Google Form online, where we spread the link via WhatsApp, Telegram and Facebook. Population of the questionnaire to all Muslim peoples in Malaysia, and these samples for 80 people of Muslim. Sampling technique we use is simple random sampling. The findings are a total of 60 respondents. The data collections was obtained by using the questionnaire consisting of 5 sections in bilingual, namely demographic information, knowledge of Zakat, Malaysians' perceptions of Zakat, awareness of the Muslim community of Zakats, and in general, the question are more statement of opinion and selection of answer based on questions. Below is the numbers of respondents involved. Demographic information, where section A presents some demographic information. The chart below shows the result of the questionnaires regard to gender, occupations, and questions for respondents whether they have ever paid zakat or not. All the findings represented here is collected from original source. First, gender of respondents. In table shows active responses, which is 52.5% from females, while 47.5% males, involving every Muslim individuals in Malaysia to collect data based on the title. Occupation of respondents. Based on figure, the majority of the occupations are full-time students, which are 63.7%, employees from the government sector by 12.5%, and part-time employees by 13.7%, while 10% are from private employees. For zakat performance of respondents, from the figure, a total of 52.5% have performed zakat on their own, while 47.5% have never performed zakat. We go to the result of inferential analysis. For hypothesis 1, correlations between knowledge about zakat and zakat in economic development. Based on the Pearson test shown in the table, there is a significant positive relationship between knowledge about zakat and zakat in economic development due to the positive value for the correlation coefficient. The knowledge about zakat variable has a 0.295 to pursue zakat in economic development variable. This proves that when knowledge about zakat is high, zakat in economic development is high. The relationship between knowledge about zakat and zakat in economic development is significant because the p-value is less than alpha value, 0.05. Hypothesis 2. Correlation between perceptions of the Malaysian community on zakat and zakat in economic development. According to the Pearson test shown in the table, there is a significant positive relationship between the Malaysian community's perceptions of zakat and zakat roles in economic development because of correlation coefficient is positive. The Malaysian community's perceptions of zakat has a 0.243 correlations with the pursuit of zakat in the economic development variable. This demonstrates that when the Malaysian community's perception of zakat is positive, so is zakat contributions to economic development. Because the p-value is less than 0.05, the relationship between the Malaysian community's perception of zakat and zakat roles in economic development is significant. For hypothesis 3, correlation between awareness of the Muslim community to zakat and zakat and economic development. Due to the negative value for the correlation coefficients, there is a significant negative relationship between Muslim community awareness of zakat and zakat in economic development. As shown in the Pearson test in table, the correlation between the Muslim community's awareness of zakat and the economic development variable is negative 0.141. This demonstrates that although the Muslim community's awareness of zakat is high, so it's not very impact of zakat on economic development. Other than that, because the p-value is less than the alpha value of 0.05, the relationship between Muslim community awareness of zakat and zakat's roles in economic development is significant.
So now, for the conclusion and recommendation, as a Muslim, we are convinced that zakat has enormous potential and can play an important role in Malaysia. Zakat has the power to influence economic activities. Zakat can be an effective tool to promote economic development. And lastly, it has the potential to increase consumption, investment, labor demand, and encourage zakat recipients to become zakat payers in the long run.